Hi, I'm Ranger Sam and I'm here today with Ranger Ben. And we're both Allegheny County Park Rangers. So we as park rangers will patrol the parks and act as customer service for folks in the parks. We will do public programs where we teach people about some of the wildlife and interesting things in the parks. And we also will visit schools and libraries to teach people about the parks as well. And today we're here to teach you all about birds and nests. So we've brought a number of different specimens here to share with you all, and we'll give you a closer look at some of the nests that birds will live in here in our parks. So what is a nest? A nest, just like humans have homes, is a place for birds to stay safe. It is a place where birds can raise their young, and it's a place to generally protect birds from the weather and from predators that we have here in our parks and out in nature. Ranger Ben's going to share with you all what makes a nest and where we can find some of these nests.
Ranger Ben here. As Ranger Sam had mentioned, nests are like the homes to birds, and like homes of people, birds like to build their nests out of different things and build them in different places. If you walk around your house, you will probably find a bird's nest. They actually really like to build their homes around your home. So if you go and look on your windowsill, sometimes some birds like to build their nests there. They even like to build their nests in places like your mailbox, or sometimes even a turned can. They'll even build their nests in there. And I saw a Carolina wren even built her nest inside of an old hornet's nest. So you can pretty much find birds' nests all around your house. And probably the most common place to find a nest is in places like this. Places with lots of trees around it and lots of bushes, because birds love to build their nests in trees. They have a really close relationship with trees. They provide them with food and shelter, so that's a really good place if you're looking for some nests to go search them out. And some birds even like to just build their nests right on the ground. They'll have their eggs are camouflaged, so they don't even bother building a nest. They'll just make a little depression on the ground and put their eggs right on the ground. And there's even some birds, they don't even build their own nest. They either will take them from another bird, or they'll just lay their egg inside of another nest. So that's just a couple different places that birds will build their nest or just have their eggs. We're going to show you a couple nests here just to show you the different materials that birds like to use to build nests. We have one right here. This one is probably from a warbler, but as you can see, it built its nest right in a tree. And if you look at the materials that are used for this nest, there's a lot of like little grasses in here. And birds love to use soft plant parts and then plant fluff. So they'll take some fluff from different plants like cattails or sometimes milkweed, and they'll put that in the middle so that their eggs have a nice soft space to grow up and hatch. And we have another nest here. It's a little fragile. This one is made out of, it looks like a whole bunch of different bark from a grapevine. So if you ever find a grapevine out in the woods, you'll notice that the bark peels really easily, and birds actually will take advantage of things like that to use for their nests. And then it gets a little more soft and delicate on the inside, again, to keep their eggs safe. So this is a different type of nest. This is probably from a bird like a catbird. And we have one last one here. It looks like this one is made out of like a lot of small grasses, but if you take a close look in this one, you'll notice that it actually uses some materials that come from us humans. A lot of times we leave our garbage around and things like fishing line. Birds will actually use that to build their nests. And it does look pretty cool, but it is actually very dangerous for birds because they can get tied up in those strings or in that fishing line, and it can really hurt them. So always be careful of, if you go fishing, to watch out where your fishing line goes, because birds will seek them out, use them for nests, but they can get tangled up in them.
So this is our first nest that we have here today, and this is one of the most common nests that we can find here in our parks. If we take a close look, we'll notice that this nest is made out of mud, straw, and small sticks. And this nest comes from the American robin. The reason this nest is so common is because American robins are very common in our parks as well. And if we were to look inside of this nest, especially this time of year, we would often see these light blue eggs. So the robins have a unique blue egg. And if we do see nests, make sure to keep a safe distance because we wouldn't want to disturb the robins and their eggs, especially this time of year whenever they are laying their eggs. So the American robin is a bird that we see all over our parks, and the reason that we see the robin so often is because robins love really open fielded areas where they can find worms, which is probably their favorite food.
All right, so now we're going to talk about a nest that is the nest of our tiniest bird here. It's called a ruby-throated hummingbird. And if you can imagine a hummingbird, hummingbirds are very small. So I have a picture of a ruby-throated hummingbird here. It gets its name from the ruby color that's on its throat. And these are very small birds. They're actually way less than a penny. And an amazing thing about these birds is that they migrate from South America, and some of the birds will actually take a shortcut, which is pretty crazy. They'll fly right over the Gulf of Mexico. They'll fly for 22 straight hours just to get to the United States, where they'll spend their summer. And then they'll make their way up to places like this in Pennsylvania because they like to build their nests here. And I actually have a hummingbird nest here. This is actually a replica because hummingbird nests are very camouflaged. And I tried to find one the whole last summer and I couldn't find one, so I actually had to make one. But if you take a look here, it's a very tiny nest. They'll actually build their nest out of soft plant parts and then fill it in with this soft plant down. Like a lot of times they'll use things like milkweed or something like a cattail. And if you look really close, you can see their eggs in there. But they'll actually camouflage the outside with lichen, and they'll attach these lichen and dead leaves with spider silk. So a lot of times they'll actually go around and collect spider webs to use for their nest, which is really cool. And I have their egg right here. This is a replica as well. But just to show you how small their eggs are, this is actually smaller than a jelly bean. Can you imagine such a small bird is going to have a very small egg and a very small nest? So if you're looking around, and you may be able to find one of these, but again, they're very hard to find. They'll actually lay them on a tree branch, on a horizontal tree branch, and they just look like a part of that branch.
So our next nest is actually a cavity nest. So some birds will actually peck holes inside of trees to create these large cavities where they can take refuge from the environment. And the bird that made this specific cavity is called a pileated woodpecker. The pileated woodpecker has a unique adaptation where its tongue is actually wrapped around its brain. So it's almost like it has a helmet inside of its skull, and that allows the pileated woodpecker to peck over and over and over again to create these cavities. The pileated woodpecker is a very common bird that we have here in Allegheny County parks. And the way that we usually identify it is not by seeing it, but by hearing its unique call.
All right, now we're going to be talking about the largest nest of any North American bird, which is the bald eagle. That's our national bird and a very beautiful bird that a lot of people really like. Just to give you a comparison, this is a hummingbird egg, and this is a replica of the bald eagle egg. So you can see that this egg's probably going to need a larger nest. The nest is actually so large that we can't even have it here right now to show you, because it can be up to 6 feet long. I can even show you an example that if Ranger Sam or I are laid inside the nest, you could just lay down straight in it. So the average diameter of a bald eagle nest, a new one, is between 5 and 6 feet wide. So they actually build upon their nest every year. Even though they start off around 6 feet, they can get up to 9 feet in diameter, so that's huge. You can actually fit a car inside some bald eagle's nest because they get so big. And they also weigh literally tons. They'll keep building up on these nests until they get so heavy that the tree falls over. So we actually have a bald eagle's nest here in North Park. It's the first bald eagle to nest here, first pair of bald eagles to nest here in decades. When I grew up in the 80s, I never imagined seeing bald eagles here in Pennsylvania, because in 1980 there was only around 3 pairs of bald eagles in the whole state. But a lot of people decided to help these bald eagles out, and now we have over 250 pairs in the state. So almost every county in Pennsylvania has a pair of bald eagles, and I think a lot of people are very grateful for that. And I know when everyone comes visit the park and they see the bald eagles, it's something that they remember for the rest of their lives.
Thank you all so much for joining us today. Next time you're out in nature or in our parks, I encourage you to look up and see if you can find some of those nests that we've shared with you today. And like always, if you do see nests or birds, always keep a safe distance so you don't disturb them in their natural environment. Thanks.